Chad, so the war broke out in September 1939. How do you remember that day, or how that time affected you or the family?
Well, not the actual day, but war had very little effect, except that I couldn't get the chocolates that I wanted.
All right. What were your favourite chocolates?
Chocolate log and peppermint crisps.
True to the day, huh? And they still are, I assume.
I hardly ever eat chocolates.
Yeah. Okay, and
But actually, there's something which really affected my life. Strange thing. I went to the nearest school, which is called Parktown Preparatory School, which is a private school based on English tradition. And this is absolutely fabulous. All I did was play sport the whole day.
Oh, wonderful.
Then all of a sudden my mother realized that I was not being taught Afrikaans properly. We only had one Afrikaans lesson a week, and that was done by a teacher who came from England and never spoken Afrikaans.
Not a very good Afrikaans teacher.
So she decided, no, coming from Potchefstroom, she decided I need Afrikaans.
Right.
So I had to change schools.
Oh gosh.
But I went to the new school and they said, what school were you in? What class? And I said, I was in Transitus. They said, what? So I said, I don't know. I was in Transitus. He said, what form was that? I said, not a clue. So they said, never mind, we'll give you a test. No, they gave me a test and they put me into Standard 4. A few weeks later I met my old teacher and I asked him what Transitus was. He says, well, it's the equivalent of Standard 2. So in other words, I should have been in Standard 3. But I was the youngest member in the class.
Oh, okay.
And this has had a profound effect on my whole life.
How come?
Because from there onwards, I've always felt to be younger than anyone.
Oh, really?
It's only now that I'm gradually admitting that there are
that you're no longer younger than anyone. So let's go to, I suppose, the end of the war. We're talking about 1945, 46. You must have been, 14?
14.
Tell us about...
well, I remember, it was absolute joy. And then but the horror as news of the concentration camps came through.
Yes. And tell us about the main relatives. You haven't mentioned much about your father. Tell us a bit more about your dad.
Yeah, well, my father's generation was 1 year older than my mother's, I'd say.
Right.
He was the youngest of 4 children.
Right.
3 women, and my mother was the eldest of 4.
Right.
And their idea, these people were, compared to my mother's family, very old-fashioned.
Right.
And so I tended to drift.
So they were sort of a generation younger.
Yeah.
They're a generation older on your dad's side. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
And
so your father's name was again?
David.
David Stolper.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. And you would come to name your son David later on, obviously.
Yeah.
Did you? Who were your friends in school? Do you have some favorite best friends that you remember?
Oh yes.
Tell us about them.
Well, one of them was someone called Ivan Greenstein.
Okay.
Who was we used to go to Bioscope every Saturday morning at the plaza.
All right. Where was that?
See the serials in Johannesburg.
Oh, okay, in central Johannesburg.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then one week I used to go to his house, and the other week he used to come to my house.
What street was the plaza in?
In Rissik.
Rissik Street. Okay.
And
so you were best buddies.
Yeah, in fact, he was at my 80th birthday.
Oh, okay.
And unfortunately, well, he is slightly older than me.
Ah.
And but unfortunately, he just died about a year ago.
Okay, so you kept contact with him right almost till the end.
I've always kept contact with him.
Oh, wonderful.
And he finished his years in Israel.
Oh, okay.
And in fact, only yesterday I got a New Year's wishes from his second wife,
Oh, okay.
who he married when his first wife died.
Wonderful. Chad, tell us about, the other. I know Matty was one of four kids, three of which were ladies, and one of which was the youngest of one, which was Ike. The second one, which is my grandmother, Ethel.
Well, your mother.
Then Molly. Yes. So tell us about the four. And
well, first of all, your mother. Your mother, first of all, was my godmother.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. And
my mother was your godmother.
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
She's
younger than you.
Fantastic person. I mean, I remember.
You mean my grandmother?
Your grandmother.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
And I used to spend times with them, with Jeff and Jeanette.
Yes.
In their house in Pretoria.
Right.
Where?
And how did you get from A to B in those days? Do you have a car?
No, me. No. This is long before. No. Somehow or other, someone was always arranged to take me by car to Potchefstroom, Pretoria.
Ah,
yeah.
So cars were still already in regular use?
Yes.
And what was the average speed, A to B?
I don't know, they
40 miles an hour?
Gosh, I'm not a big car person, really.
Oh, yes.
So, but I remember going in the dicky of your grandfather.
All right. Yes. Lou.
Who had this, and he used to have a saying about let's go into the car, and he used to call it the room, and the room roars.
Oh, yes.
Which meant the car was going.
All right.
It was a wonderful feeling with the air sitting in the back of a dicky.
Yes. And
no, I think the only thing, your grandmother was one of the rare Jewish women who, in my opinion, couldn't cook.
Oh, really?
Whenever I went there, the stock food was boerewors, which I actually enjoyed, but no normal food as I understood it.
And what was normal food as you understood it?
Oh, variety of chicken, chops, steaks,
Gefilte fish,
all sorts of fishes, Jewish type cooking.
Yeah.
Ethel didn't produce Jewish type cooking. Well, not to my knowledge.
Yes. Yeah, I remember she had one good dish, which was a kind of a roast chicken dish she did, and that was one of her top.
No.
She could do that to a T.
No.
So anyway, and Molly?
Molly was the youngest and was very, very nice to me.
Is Ike not younger than Molly?
Terrific. Yes, I think so, but I'm not 100% sure.
No, I think he was younger.
Yes.
Yeah.
But Molly used to have a very shrill laugh, and
Yes,
I always used to. No, if I went to a cinema, and I heard, and someone, if she was there, I would know it because of her laugh.
All right.
Yeah.
And where did she live? In Potchefstroom?
Potchefstroom.
And carrying on from there, her husband was who?
It was Dave Green from. He came in from England.
Okay.
Very nice guy.
And who were Matty's parents?
Matty's parents was Lily.
Yes.
And I didn't know my grandfather.
You don't know his name? Do you remember his name?
Jacob.
Yes. Okay, and your father's...
Well, we actually haven't spoken about Ike yet.
Yes, go on.
Yeah, as the other person, well, was a complete role model for me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, someone I absolutely adored. He was a doctor who only, if he came to see me, if I wasn't feeling well, he just had to pat me on the back and say, "You're going to be all right," and I felt better.
Immediately.
Immediately.
Oh, wonderful. So, yeah, it's amazing.